Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today with a new Jujutsu Kaisen video, or more specifically with the new Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo video. Yes, I'm gonna be talking about the spin-off since the chapter is already officially out. I am gonna go over it and I'm gonna discuss some of the most important things that were mentioned or the things that are causing a lot of discussions in the fandom. This new manga, it's gonna be one short, it's gonna be about 3 volumes long, and it's also a sequel or a spin-off for the actual Jujutsu Kaisen, the main series, so there's gonna be spoilers. If you're not up to date with the manga, please do not watch this video because it's a lot of spoilers. But before, don't forget to follow me on my social media if you haven't already. All the links are going to be in the description below. I also have a Twitch where I stream pretty much every day. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, I upload videos every week. And now with nothing else to add, let's begin the chapter. The story starts in the year of 2086, which means that this takes place 68 years after the end of Jujutsu Kaisen. The first panel immediately presents to us that there is an extraterrestrial life form identifying itself as the Simurian, I hope I'm saying that right, accompanied by a mothership known as Naunax, carrying nearly 50,000 of its compatriots. They're seeking sanctuary as refugees. We don't know why they're seeking sanctuary. It's not mentioned at all. But we are presented with 3 characters that are part of that mothership. We don't get the names, we just get the faces and a little bit of a conversation. It's this guy that's apparently sitting on a throne asking why they need to contact Japan instead of America, because America, I guess. And it's because America decided to send all the diplomatic stuff regarding this thing to Japan. Now, one of the characters that is seen in this panel resembles a lot to Tengen. It looks just like freaking Tengen. Again, we don't get names. That character doesn't even talk. It's just like standing there. Now, this other character, the one that actually talks, mentions that in Japan there seems to be people with similar powers to them, and that they're called in Earth or in this world Jujutsu sorcerers. And this is all we're gonna get from the aliens that are in that mothership trying to land on Earth. Next, we're presented with one of the first characters, or one of the protagonists of this story, which is Yuka Okotsu, which is the granddaughter of Yuta Okotsu, the Yuta, of course, that we see in Jujutsu Kaisen. In this particular flashback, it's just a way for us to know that she was very, very close to her grandfather. And it's also in this particular flashback where we see Yuta giving her the ring, Rika's ring. Yuta is worried about Yuka because she is a little bit reckless. So the way they're seeing this ring, it's like an amulet. It's like a protection type of thing. That's why he gave it to her. In order to, until she becomes a full-fledged Jujutsu sorcerer. Next, we have a time skip where Yuka is 10 years old and she's at the funeral of her grandfather. He died of natural causes a little bit after Maki died. Yes, Maki Seni. And immediately after the funeral, we get the scene of a woman asking for the ring, trying to take the ring away from Yuka. Obviously, Yuka asks why, if the ring was given to her by her grandfather. The woman responds that because it belongs to your brother Tsurugi from now on. That ring is a cursed object registered to the Gojo clan's cursed warehouse. At the end of Jujutsu Kaisen, it was Yuta that ended up taking over the Gojo clan. That's why they are like, oh yeah, it belongs to the Gojo clan. This woman also says that she has no right to have it and that only Tsurugi is suited for this ring. This particular thing caused a lot of discussion in the fandom, and I'm gonna go over all this once I finish going over the chapter. because we need to reach the end of the chapter to kind of have an idea of what is going on. We need to see the different points of views and how this woman talked to Yuka compare how she talked to Tsurugi. Very important to understand or to like pay attention at the way the woman talked to Yuka, because this obviously hits her that only Tsurugi is suited for this ring. So this makes Yuka think that she is not strong enough to have the ring. She goes with this idea. Then we have another time skip, and now this is the modern year, the year of 2086. We're presented with a Yuka of 16 years old and a Tsurugi of 17. And they're getting ready for a mission. The man explains them that this mission it's about all the cases of the Japanese citizens being abducted to be used as energy resources. Because of all the things that Kenjaku did during the actual series of Jujutsu Kaisen, all this whole thing of cursed energy and Jujutsu sorcerers was revealed to the public. I mean, he went all the way to talk to the American government, and that's where the idea of using cursed energy as energy started. Of course, now they're dealing with this problem because we know that cursed energy is a thing that it's mostly just happens in Japan. There are other cases of people being Jujutsu sorcerers outside Japan, but it's very rare. Yuka and Tsurugi's mission it's to only gather information that can guide them to the people that are doing this. They're only there to gather this information and report to the higher ups. And they're presented with the third member of this team. His name is Modulo Vol Yelvori. I hope I'm saying this right, Jesus. But you can call him Maru. He is pretending to be an inspector, a Jujutsu sorcerer from other country, even though he has no idea what they're talking about when they talk about like Jujutsu sorcerers and cursed energy. He is obviously very confused. Maru doesn't know what a cursed user is either. Because at the end of the day, like these people know, okay, we have similar abilities, but of course they know them as something different. They don't explain in this chapter how they know them, how they call themselves, how this powers that they have happened on them. They don't explain any of that. I assume they're gonna explain it later on, maybe. Or maybe it is born in them just like cursed energy. We don't know yet. Now in an internal monologue, Maru mentions that the reason why he is there, it's because I need to check out the Earthlings who share our powers and see if they can coexist with us Simurians. So it's a recognition mission. He's there just to learn about them. So as they try to plan how they're going to go about their mission, we see kind of like the broken relationship that's between Yuka and Tsurugi. They're constantly competing against each other, and it's all because of the ring. And of course they don't care about Maru. They left him behind. He doesn't know what to do. Again, he has no idea what's happening. He's very confused about this whole thing, so he just stays there and cries until Yuka comes back. They talk a little bit. They eat and they talk a little bit, and of course Yuka explains why she doesn't get along with her brother, and of course the whole thing of the ring comes up. She explains that the ring is very important to her and that it was taken away from her because it's a very important cursed object that belongs to the Gojo clan and only the best sorcerers can have it. It used to be mine, but then my mom suddenly gave it to my brother. So we have once again the fact that Yuka believes that she was not good enough for the ring and that's why it was taken away from her. She also mentions that her brother Tsurugi is a hard worker, that he's constantly training, constantly trying to get better. And she sees this attitude of him as him trying to get attention. He says that here it's like he's begging for attention, like, look at me, I'm working so hard, I am so strong. He doesn't want me to take the ring away. He's the worst. So she genuinely thinks that he was okay with the ring being taken away from her and given to him. The relationship, it's really in a bad state. At first, or like in the very first pages, is presented to you as something very comical, like for example this with the faces that Yuka is making and the way they fight each other when they were trying to, when they were discussing the situation before going into the mission. But as you go on into the chapter, you start seeing that it's something very serious. Yuka genuinely believes that her brother just doesn't like her, that her brother took that ring away from her, that it wasn't just the decision of the clan, of their mother in this case. It's not just a matter of siblings fighting, like that's normal between them. And again, it's like as you go into the chapter, you start noticing that. Now, Maru also explains that he has a younger brother, a twin younger brother. We know that in Jujutsu Kaisen, or in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, twins have a very special connection. We've seen it with Maki and Mai, and we saw it with Sukuna and Wasuke. He explained that he doesn't get along with his twin brother, and apparently it's because his brother thinks that he is a little bit clumsy. But there's obviously, we know that there's something else behind all this. And I guess it's safe to assume that the twin brother is the guy that we see at the very beginning of the manga. The marks on the cheeks are different compared to the ones that Maru has. The hair, they have it different too. He has it like back on a ponytail, a short ponytail. And if we looked at the color pages that were revealed, Maru has green eyes, while his brother, or the guy that we see at the beginning of the manga, has red eyes. So Maru offers himself to help her finding her brother and completing the mission in this case, so that she can prove that she's strong, that she's better, that she's good at what she's doing, and that way help her to get that ring back. So they go about their way, they try to find clues in the areas where the kids had been gone missing, until they come to the conclusion that yes, of course, it's a cursed user that's been doing this, and that he placed a curse, not a cursed spirit, a curse in this area, that it's making the people follow a very specific path until they hit the barrier, or when the barrier activates. They come across Tsurugi again, and he mentions that he needs to go get a tool. Apparently he uses cursed tools just like Maki used to. Well, they're trying to investigate a little more. One kid runs the same path that they were going, and of course he makes the barrier activates and the kid disappears. So after the kid is taken away, Yuka and Tsurugi go into an argument again. They're fighting, like Tsurugi wants to go on his own, Yuka obviously wants to follow, and as they keep arguing, the barrier activates again, and it only takes Tsurugi without his cursed tool. And this is because obviously the barrier is designed to only activate when people have a low level of cursed energy, only getting non-sorcerers. And this is where it's explained to us that Tsurugi is a special case. He is a sorcerer who doesn't have cursed energy. That's why he uses cursed tools. So I guess we can assume that he's pretty much like Maki, but he doesn't wear glasses. He doesn't have the need to wear glasses, which takes me to believe that he has a little bit more of cursed energy compared to Maki. But then again, if he didn't have like absolutely no cursed energy, he would be like Toji, and he's not like Toji. There's something going on in there. I don't know if it's a heavenly restriction. It would be a completely different type of heavenly restriction from what we've seen. We've seen the Maki one that was tied to Mai. We've seen also Toji that completely lacked any cursed energy at all. So this guy is obviously not like him. And we've also seen Mikamaru's heavenly restriction, which is like a bunch of cursed energy and taken away like the ability to move or have a good health. So none of those applied to Tsurugi. We will have to wait and see exactly what's going on with him. But for now, it's just know that he has cursed energy just to a normal level. So after Tsurugi is taken away, Yuka is like, no, let's go. Let's just go back and report to Usami what we found, which was the original mission. It was just to find clues and report to this guy, report to the higher ups. Maru is actually worried about Tsurugi, and he asks if this guy Usami is gonna come right away to help Tsurugi, and Yuka is like, no, he's in Tokyo, so somebody else is gonna come. She straight up says, anyway, who cares? I've got zero motivation, to be honest. This is referring to her brother. Her brother was taken away by this curse user. His curse tool, it's not with him. So he's at a very great disadvantage if he is like Maki. So they really don't get along at all. It's not just them trying to get stronger than the other. They genuinely think, or at least Yuka genuinely think, that he took that ring away from her and that he probably sees her as less. So Maru keeps on insisting on going and save Tsurugi. He says that he has a way to find him. And when Yuka is just like, no, I don't want to, he gets angry. Maru says that no matter how much you two fight or how much he insults you, don't curse your brother in that way. So again, Maru is taking this from Yuka's perspective because that's the only one he has. And he mentions too that maybe Tsurugi is going to have a change of heart in the future, referring to the way he treats Yuka. But we are never going to see that if you let him die or if you don't help him. So at the end, Yuka accepts to go and look for her brother. She says that I'm gonna go punch his face in. So of course, Tsurugi is now captured by this cursed user. He obviously explains a little bit of what he did. And he also mentions that aliens have come here. Tsurugi doesn't believe him at first, but he explains that this invasion it's on par with the attack by Ryomen Sukuna 68 years ago. They explain a little bit of the treaty that they mentioned at the beginning, and they also mentioned that there's obviously cultural barriers and that's probably gonna just cause like a huge problem, and at the end the aliens are just going to start a war and invade Earth. And a very important thing, it's also revealed here. In this diplomatic mission in the war will expose Japan's true colors. When the world finds out how weak sorcerers have become, the shady new energy business will be over. When Satoru Gojo was born, we know that there was a peak in power of Jujutsu sorcerers and cursed spirits. Personally, I believed I had this theory that we had the golden age of Jujutsu when Sukuna was alive back in the Heian era. After that period, the power of Jujutsu sorcerers went back down and it started to go up when Gojo was born. I thought it was gonna go keep going up and we were gonna have another golden age of Jujutsu, but apparently after this whole thing happened, after Sukuna was defeated, after Gojo died, the power went back down again. Jujutsu sorcerers are weak. And this is why we see curse users doing this thing that it's happening in the manga. When Satoru Gojo was alive, obviously they couldn't do any of this. It's explained in the anime, it's explained in the manga. They had to stop when Satoru Gojo was born. There's no Satoru Gojo. And the power of the Jujutsu sorcerers is going down again. So curse users can go out and do these things again. Now after this whole explanation, we get Yuka and Maru arriving. And we get to see what Maru's, they don't call them curse techniques. I don't know what they call them. But we get to see a little bit of what he can do. And it's finding an equal match to you. And there's people saying that this is probably how they found Earth. The fact that, again, they have similar powers to them might have helped to find Earth as well, an equal match to them. So they go back to fight this guy, and we see a little bit of what Yuka can do. And she uses like martial arts, but with cursed energy. Like there's cursed energy in what she does. Tsurugi also gets his cursed tool, and he uses the shadow style. After they defeat this guy, then we get to see the perspective or the point of view on this whole ring situation from Tsurugi's eyes. He says, I'll work harder too, so I can give you back this ring. Then, just like we saw with Yuka, we get to see Tsurugi spending time with Maki. Just like Yuka was very close to her grandfather, Tsurugi was very close to his grandmother. And Maki herself mentions, you're a lot like me, Tsurugi. You get stronger through loss, but it's a double-edged sword, so you have to be careful. So get stronger through lost, of course, we know what Maki is actually referring to, and we go back to the whole situation with twins. This is... Gigaku Tami loves foreshadowing, so this is... It's a very dark thing, but maybe it's gonna be different for them. Like, hopefully. Tsurugi mentions when he's a kid, when he's 7 years old, that he would like a ring too. And Maki says that ring is a protective charm to ward off danger. You don't need it, Tsurugi, because you're strong. We have, of course, the scene when the mother gives the ring to Tsurugi, and she says to Tsurugi, because you need it the most. It gives you a completely different feeling for what she said to Yuka compared to what she said to Tsurugi. Tsurugi thinks that they gave the ring to him because he is weak. I'm gonna make him say, you don't need that ring. You're Maki's grandson after all. Now this guy was gonna try something different. The guy that they were there to, that they captured, it was gonna try something. But we get to see, of course, the scene where Maru loses the little band-aid that he had on his forehead, and we see a third eye. The third eye, just like his brother had it. The guy ends up unconscious again. We don't know exactly what he did. It's just like the guy just passes out. And this is where Yuka and Tsurugi find out that Maru is actually an alien. So that's the end of the chapter. Again, it's too early to really come up with conclusions or get angry because nothing changed or get angry because things change for the worst or things like that. So I'm gonna go over the things that did change and the things that are a little bit just too confusing to come up with a conclusion. Now, before getting started with all that, I think it's very important that we understand one thing. Change takes time. Especially when we're talking about a society that's been working this exact same way for 100 and thousands of years. Gojo obviously took the right step on changing things from the very bottom up, starting with his students. Obviously, if you are gonna change something, you need to make sure that the people that are coming after you are gonna follow on those steps. So that's why Gojo wanted to start teaching his students in that way. Like he said it at the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen, that was his entire goal. That's why he was doing the things the way he was doing them, because he knew he could kill all the higher ups, and that was not going to change anything. If he was going to be labeled a criminal, people were not going to follow him. Nobody likes killers, right? So obviously he knew that he had to start from his students to nurture those students, so when he was not there anymore, they could keep going with those changes. And in very small details, we can see that there are changes in this whole thing. And I'm talking about changes aside from the treaty that was signed after the whole Shinjuku thing. We get it from the very, very beginning of the manga with this memories of Yuka. It's not only the fact that Yuta and Maki managed to, or were able to, pretty much live a peaceful life. They grew old, they died of old age instead of, in a mission or in a battle or doing their work as Jujutsu sorcerers. Yuta and Maki both got the chance to spend time with their grandchildren. That is the first change that we get to see. It's a family that it's not actually broken. We don't get to see the relationship these kids had with their parents, but we get to see this one. And it's not a broken family in this aspect. It gets broken later on, at least the relationship between Yuka and Tsurugi. I'm gonna talk about that later. Then we get another change, and it's the fact that something that people have complained constantly, every single time I see complaints about the end of Jujutsu Kaisen is there was no funeral for Gojo. There was not a single funeral for any of the characters at all in Jujutsu Kaisen except for Wasuke, who is Yuji's grandfather, and Megumi's sister, Sumiki. They got a funeral because it's not even a funeral. We get to see their grave, and that's it. And they get it because they're normal people. Normal people have that privilege. It's something that Jujutsu sorcerers don't have. And Jujutsu sorcerers themselves learned to cope with that. They learned to mourn the people in a different way. If you want to hear a better explanation as to why Jujutsu sorcerers are not allowed to mourn like normal people do, I really recommend you to watch my video analysis of episode 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen. 68 years later, we see that Yuta got a freaking funeral. His granddaughter is there. His granddaughter gets the chance to mourn him like a normal person instead of the other way that it of course works for them for Jujutsu sorcerer, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. Obviously they should have the right to mourn their people. Obviously they should have this privilege of having a funeral and having things done this way. This is another change, and it's like right in your face. It's so freaking obvious. So things are changing. There are different things going on right now. We have higher ups, yes, because at the end of the day there has to be some structure, but as long as those higher ups are different to the previous higher ups, as long as the higher ups that we have now are following what Gojo left behind with his students, this whole thing should start changing. Another change that we have is, of course, the way missions are treated. I mentioned it at the beginning. These two kids were just there to get information and report back to the higher ups. That's all they had to do. Of course, they ended up trapped in this whole situation, but their mission was just to get information. Another thing that changed, acting on your own like that, it's forbidden in our line of work. Solo missions, things like that are not allowed anymore. They're not depending on a single person to do something the way they did back in the times of Gojo. Defeating Sukuna was a collective effort. The strength in numbers, the strength of not being alone, something that deeply affected Gojo and Sukuna as well. This was part of the final lesson left behind, the strength in the connections that you make. Satoru Gojo accepted the title of the strongest, became a weapon, and with his power worked so his students wouldn't have to face the same destiny. They obviously want everybody working on a team. It's literally not a single person being the weapon of the Jujutsu Society. Is everybody working together. Now those are like the easiest changes that were made, or like that could have made in the 68 years that have passed. Now let's talk about like the hardest thing to change in this whole society, and it was the clans. We know that in Jujutsu Kaisen, at the end of Jujutsu Kaisen, or reaching like the end of Jujutsu Kaisen, the Zenin clan was obliterated by Maki. The Camel clan was pretty much destroyed by Kenjaku, and that only leaves us with the Gojo clan, and Yuta took over the Gojo clan. There hasn't been mentioned about the Zenin clan. Personally, I don't think it would be reestablished. When Naobito died, Megumi was supposed to take over the clan, but we know what Maki did. So the only Zenin alive were Megumi and Maki, and none of them are even Zenin. Like, Maki obviously took Yuta's last name because she always hated being referred to as Zenin. She never liked her last name. And I personally don't think Megumi would try to revive the clan. But that is just my opinion. Again, we're just speculating because this is the first chapter and we know nothing about the other two clans. So personally, I believe it's only the Gojo clan right now. Yuta took over it. And again, this is gonna be the part that it's gonna be hard to change. Despite the fact that Yuta is Yuta Okotsu, the clan is still the Gojo clan and they took over the ring. And are things changing in the clans or in the clan that is left? A lot of people were discussing that they did not change at all, but I am not so sure about it. And I made some mentions on the fact of how this freaking ring it's being treated. When Yuka's mom talks to her, she makes it sound that she is not good enough for the ring, and that's why Yuka believes that she's not strong enough. That's why she has this idea that, oh, everybody thinks my brother's better, everybody thinks my brother's stronger, because the way that her mother talked to her gives you that sensation and makes you think that way. But then once you see the way she talked to Tsurugi, it's completely different. She doesn't say because you are the one that's strong enough, or because you are the one that must have it. No, it's because you need it the most. And we go back to the way Maki sees this ring, the way Yuta also sees this ring. In Maki's words, the ring is a protective charm to guard off evil. And that's kind of like the same thing that Yuta says to Yuka. I want you to have this to protect you because you're a little bit reckless. So I want you to have this. That's the reason why he gave the ring to her. So Yuka believes that the ring was taken away from her because she's weak. And Tsurugi believes he got the ring because he is not strong enough. And it's not the kids misunderstanding this. It's the way the information was given to them. So there's obviously something else other than, oh, it's because you are going to be the head of the clan because you are the guy, or because you're older than I, or because you're stronger than I. In my opinion, the ring is seen as what Maki says, something to protect you from evil, just like Yuta believed something because you were a little bit reckless. And it was given to him because at the end of the day, he doesn't have cursed energy, or he doesn't have the cursed energy the way Yuka has it. So in my opinion, it has nothing to do with the way the clans used to act, but it's still pushing in that direction in the sense that they're protecting Jujutsu sorcerers so much to the point that they have rendered their growth completely. That's why they're so weak in this era. 68 years later, after we had the peak after Gojo was born, and then we're going down. Obviously, they live a little bit better. Obviously, like again, things are changing for them. They get to do things that they couldn't do in the past. They don't just throw them and sacrifice them the way they used to, but at the same time they might be protecting them a little bit too much, and that's why they're struggling to grow, or that's why they're growing weaker. And at the same time, it's a little bit ironic because this whole ring situation is pushing Yuka to be stronger and also Tsurugi to be stronger. So there is a lot of things that changed, and a lot of things that are still the same, and a lot of changes that might not be going the right direction, but there is change. The whole thing with the ring, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be explained later on. There's obviously something going on. There's obviously something that is gonna be revealed to us. The way they paint the mother, everybody is saying that she's most likely daughter-in-law of Yuta. We have this distant look in her face, like the way she's treating the kids is like very cold, it's very detached. It's again that the way other kids, or like the kids in Jujutsu Kaisen, the main series, were treated by their parents, very I mean, you're my kid, but like whatever type of way. But at the same time, I believe there's just something else in this whole situation, because there's no way they just decided to, oh yeah, let's confuse the kids. Like, there has to be some reason. It might be a way to push them to grow, because you have it here. Like, you have these two kids trying to get stronger, one to get the ring, the other one to give the ring away. So while I understand all this analysis that came out of this particular scene, I understand where they're coming from. I understand why they might see them that way. But this particular moment, the way it was explained, things were explained to Tsurugi, it makes me believe that it has nothing to do with that. I think it's too early to come to a conclusion like that, that it's all oh, it's misogyny, it's because he's the boy, it's because he's older, it's because they think he's stronger. They clearly don't think he's stronger. They would have said to this boy that you are the one worthy of the ring, not you are the one that needed the most. Anyways, that's my perspective on all this thing. I don't want to jump into conclusions when it comes to the clan. It feels to me that there's something deeper going on. This is something that I've said before, and I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna keep saying it as many times as necessary, and it's the fact that Giga Akutami loves foreshadowing and loves to leave clues behind for you to start piecing things together. I feel like in this particular story, compared to the original or to Jujutsu Kaisen, those clues or those things that he's leaving behind are more in your face. They're more like, they're pretty much slapping you. When I read the first part of the manga, of course, like the moment where this lady tells Yuka that she cannot have the ring, I thought, okay, yeah, what the hell? So nothing changed. I thought that. Then I saw this and I was like, wait, hold on, like what's going on? So I believe this is that it's just a clue for you to realize that there's something else going on behind this whole ring situation, something deeper. That's the way I feel it. That's the way Gege Akutami's writing has told me, or like has guided me to this conclusion. At the end of the day, it's just speculation. You are more than welcome to believe whatever you want. You are more than welcome to interpret this whole thing whatever you want, because at the end of the day, it's just the first chapter, and it's not like we have all the information already to come with a conclusion. We're gonna get new chapters every Sunday. I'm gonna leave the link in the description so you guys can read them. They're completely free. They're gonna be free for you to read, so you won't have to engage in leaks. Please don't engage in leaks. I mean, at the end of the day, you're free to do it. I wouldn't recommend you, because it's a mess. There are like mistranslation, there are things that are missing, there are pages that are not complete. So please read the manga, read the actual chapters as they come out on Sundays in the morning. That's my recommendation to fully understand and fully enjoy this story the way it's intended. The link is going to be in the description below. And that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be very honest with you. Science fiction and aliens is definitely not my thing. So when I started reading this, I was very, very confused. But I like it so far. Like, once you start going page by page, you start seeing all Gege in it. Like, it's just Gege Akutami on every single thing. And especially this, like, the end, or like the whole thing with the ring. I trust Gege Akutami at the end of the day. He's the one that's guiding the story, which is what I mostly care about. Art, it's very pretty. At first it was like, oh, I'm not so sure. I'm kind of missing Gege Akutami's art style. I'm still missing it. But it's not bad. Like, the art style that we get, it's definitely not bad. It's beautiful. It's enjoyable. And it gives you the feeling that this is Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm happy. I'm very happy with this. Extra info, there's novels coming up. We have 2 novels already of Jujutsu Kaisen. One is this one. The first one is Summer of the Ashes. Atom of Dust, and the other one that's on my bookshelf, and I can't take it away because my bookshelf is a mess. But the other one is called A Thorny Road at Dawn. They were not written by Gege Akutami. There are some little mistakes here and there, and what's canon, like what has been established as canon in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, but they're like very little mistakes. They're still enjoyable. The other novels are going to be written by a different author. It's not going to be Gege Akutami, but it's not going to be the same author that wrote this too. I would prefer Gege Akutami to write them. That is just my opinion. That's what I think. I'm still gonna read them. I'm definitely gonna read all those novels. I don't know how many it's gonna be. I don't know if it was said how many it was going to be, but I'm gonna read them just like I read this. Anyways, guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you reach all this part of the video, that means a lot. Thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to leave your like and a comment. If you have different interpretations of this whole ring situation, I would love to hear them. If you have any theories that you want to share, please leave it in the comments as long as you are respectful. I'm probably going to be doing this with every chapter, just like a quick analysis and going over it and breaking it down. This is my first time going over a manga chapter like this. So I hope I did a good job, or that it was at least a little bit enjoyable. I'm hopefully gonna get better as I go, especially with this manga. Anyways, thank you so much for joining, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!